since 2009. So yeah, we've had some people that have been to almost all of them. Russ, raise your hand. He's been to all of them but one. All of them but one. That's amazing. So we have these gatherings all over the state. We try to kind of highlight the states, different part of the state. So last year, as you know, we were at Clifty Falls. So we came up here. I work out of Obachi, so this is like my area. So I love it when it's at Fort Wayne. The last time Fort Wayne hosted it was 2011, and I was 9 months pregnant and had my baby the next week. So yeah, so I'll never forget that year. Anyway, so we're glad that Fort Wayne was able to host again. We're going to highlight, this property wasn't even here in 2011, so this is a neat property to be at. So we're excited they're hosting us. Next year, we'll be going to Brown County, and I want to introduce John. He's going to be part of the committee, so John wants to come up and say a few things about next year.
Okay, April 4th, 5th, and 6th will be at Brown County State Park.
Close.
April 4th, 5th, and 6th will be at the Brown County State Park. That's called the Little Smokies for you that are familiar with the hills. It's the third highest elevation in the state, so it's Weed Patch Hill, and the reason they call it Weed Patch Hill, a tornado came through there during the pioneer days and wiped out all the trees, and all that was left was the weeds. So anyway, Weed Patch Hill, that's a high elevation. But we're going to have horseback riding on Friday. Everybody can come. You have to register online, but we'll have that information in February. We're going to have some speakers that are phenomenal on wildflowers, bats, rattlesnakes, everything you can think of. We're going to have some really good speakers. And secondly, we're real close to Yellowwood State Forest, probably 15 minutes away, so we'll have a hike over there. We're close to the Muscatatuck National Wildlife area, so we're probably 40 minutes away from that. So when you come to the gathering, you can go to these different events. We'll possibly have like the TC Steele Memorial, which is a fabulous area. So there's going to be some fun things that are extra. Nashville, Indiana is right next door to the park. It's got some fabulous eating places. Can't beat them, actually, and there's some really neat places to see there. A. Martin Lodge is where we're going to focus most of the training, and we're going to go to the Nature Center for lunch, and we're already getting this stuff going, so we're really excited about the plans for it.
Yeah. We start working on these a year out, or 2 years out, to be honest. And then what we're thinking is in 2026, we're thinking Evansville area. And then, like I said last night to the people last night, I am kind of considering maybe a winter one in 2027 at Pokagon. So, so we're thinking about that. Potawatomi Inn, Angola area, Pokagon winter. So, thinking about it. All right, right. The tree cookies, just want to make a comment. Those tree cookies, those that were here last night, no, but the tree cookies are made from wood from Fox Island, from the derecho that went through. So the wood that fell during the derecho, those were your tree cookies, are made from Fox Island here in Allen County. So those are very special. I do want to introduce the president of the Indiana Master Naturalist Council, Chuck. He's going to say a few words.
Everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
I don't have a lot to talk about, but I wanted to introduce the state council members that are here today. Irma Chapman.
All right, stand up. Stand up, Elma.
Elma Chapman. Elma, in case you're interested, is the one that does our newsletter. The deadline for the next submission is October the 5th. If you submit something and it's used, you can get volunteer hours for doing that. So if you have any questions, talk to Elma today. You've already met John. John, this is his first year. He just joined the council this year. Pardee, Gunter. Some people apply for scholarships. Pardee's in charge of the scholarship program. That's both for programs that want to offer scholarships to incoming students, as well as to IMNs who would like financial assistance to attend state gatherings. Brad Eisenhart. Brad has been on the council 7 years. Brad works for Waste Management. He's one of the professional people on the committee. The committee is made up of alums like us and professionals. You might also notice we all wear the same color shirts, so that should make it easy to find us if you need to ask any questions. And I would encourage it because we always like input from our members. If you haven't signed up for 3D Nature, student page isn't here today, but if you haven't done it, please do so. We expect it to be an enormous time-saving effort for Jody. We have close to 1,000 people that are on the registry right now. To give you an idea of what we know to date, we have over 12,000 volunteer hours recorded. If you use last year's value of volunteer hour of $34.99, we have over $430,000 of volunteer hours so far this year. So hopefully we can get 70 more and hit that 500,000. There are over 750 projects currently listed on the 3D website. If you can't find something that applies, make it out yourself, submit it. The administrator for your area can then approve it or deny it, and if they deny it, they'll let you know why. So far to date, we have 64 members that have at least 50 volunteer hours. We have 19 that have more than 100 hours. If you are interested, I have a list of the top 20. If you want to see if you're on there. Last thing I wanted to talk about was 5 years ago we started a 10-year pin, and that's every time you turn in your hours for advanced, you get credit for that year. And 5 years ago, since 5 years ago to now, we have awarded 51 10-year pins. So that means 51 people have turned in hours for at least 10 years. There are 10 people that are on the list at 9 years. I don't have that list with me, but so we could add another 10 for next year.
And welcome. Glad you got through all those roadblocks and the weather yesterday. You made it. Would all the committee members stand up? There's 15, and some of them are outdoors right now. All the committee members. When we dismiss here, in about 10 or 15 minutes, the blue group is going to go to the tent over here. And so you can go out on the balcony and down, or go down this stairs and exit to the tent over there. The yellow group, you're going to go out the doors right here, and we'll divide you up into 3 groups. So that's done. If you haven't looked around the building yet, there's beautiful displays here, just about on every wall. And upstairs, there's Indian artifacts that have been collected from the farm fields that used to be this property. And you can look at those, and there's some things about this building. You might not recognize it, but this is a 1912 barn. And Mr. Brooks had it, redesigned. Anything that's dark wood is original, and the lighter wood would be newer. But that's amazing in itself. And we also want to thank All Occasion Party Rentals, especially Matt Galloway. They had a big fundraiser here Thursday night, and he said, I won't take the tent down until later. And so we got to use it, so we're appreciative of that. Kelly Borgman is the executive director. Where's Kelly? There she is. She's the executive director. She's going to be one of your tour guides around the premises today, around the park. And John Brooks is going to come up here in a few minutes. He's chairman of the board of Brooks Construction. It's a 3rd generation business. I think they started about 1909. And he and his late wife live near here. And they both love the nature here. And they wanted to preserve it for future generations. So you'll only see prairie grasses around this area, plus a beautiful forest with a sand dune going through it, and you'll get to see that. 2 years ago, John was awarded the Sagamore of the Wabash by our governor, which is the highest honor the governor can give. And I don't know that very many of you know exactly what Sagamore means in the native Indian tongue. But the chief of the tribe would pick out a great man among the tribe who he could look to for advice and wisdom. And that is John. Come on up, John.
What a great pleasure it is to be here with you this morning. And I can't tell you how honored we are to have this group be here at LC Nature Park. We keep trying to grow the park and do new things, have new programming, but to have this group here that has probably got more knowledge about what goes on in Indiana from a natural world perspective is just a great honor to have you here. So thank you so much for coming to Fort Wayne and spending the day at LC Nature Park. Appreciate it very much. So we started this park in 2019 and formed the 501c3. Can you hear me okay? Is this okay? And the whole intent was to try to preserve the land. We'd accumulated about a couple hundred acres over the last 25 years or so. And in 2011, we got some elk. In 2012, we got some bison and started our own little private hobby herds here. And my wife contracted breast cancer. And so one reason we got the animals was she did like to eat meat. And we didn't want any meat that had antibiotics or other factors in it that might be affecting her treatment and all that. Well, she died in 2017, and after that, it was like, okay, how do we honor Carol? And so initially it was all about supporting cancer research and trying to help get rid of this horrible disease that's out there. And we continued to do that. But after about a year, it was more like she was a lot more than cancer. And so what we did is we went around and interviewed a lot of her friends and even distant family members and said, okay, what was it you remember as being her passions? What was it that really turned her on? And you could see that spark in her when she was talking about it. Well, a lot of it was kids. A lot of it was nature. She was educated as a chemist. She loved the sciences. She loved the outdoors. And she loved making food and bringing fun and joy to people. So that became the inspiration for the park. So the park's not about Carol, but it certainly was the inspiration to get this thing started. And it's been a lot of fun for me, a lot of fun for my family to create this and try to continue to see it grow and get better and better as time goes on. So I'm sure the guides are going to give you a lot of information about what you see out here on your tours. But in the meantime, you can probably hear a little screaming that's going on. And that's the elk. They're in the rut right now. They were really wound up this morning. They were just up here by this outlook barn. They've moved off now. But today, if you keep looking outside, you'll see the elk and the bison wander, which is what they do, every day out there. So, hope you enjoy it. And again, so appreciative that you're here. Thank you.
John, where I think I'm honored to be here, to be honest. So this is a really neat facility. I can't wait till you guys get out there to see the bison and the elk. And yes, I was here at 7:30 this morning, and I could hear the elk, and it was neat to hear those. It was hazy, and the elk in the background. I felt like I was in kind of like a horror movie in a way. I was like, oh. But it was so neat.
We are over the bison and elk enclosure, right? That's the fence. Outside people, inside animals. So we are inside the enclosure technically. It's the only way you're allowed in.
I mean, as far as animals that are allowed to leave, we do have a multi-generational fox den in these woods and in the Peninsula Woods. That's that's on the northern end of this enclosure. We also see a lot of skunk in here.
Raccoon, possum.
Raccoons. We have so many red-tailed hawks.
Owls, bald eagles.
Yes. There's so Arrowhead Marsh has a bald eagle nest, I believe, further back in their on their preserve that you can't really get to. But since the Little River is on our northern border, we see it hunting kind of along this area quite a bit. We've started seeing a lot of osprey as well around here. So
yeah, we're working to put up an osprey tower.
yes.
Oh,
so seeing that they're already here is very reassuring.
Yeah. We hope it'll colonize a little sooner than some other places have.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah. So one of the things, we'll go ahead and go back down here, as executive director that I'm working on is a master plan for the park. And And for that master plan,
Make sure they're not sick.
parasites and other things, yeah. And all the food is inside. They don't really want to be outside. But you will notice it's not electric. You know, you can touch it and you can, it's not electrified. The elk could probably jump right over it if they wanted to.
Oh, wow.
Speaking of elk,
We know.
Fred is pretty wild still. He would not take lightly to us picking up his feet. We probably can't even get that close to him. I am gonna ask we keep hands and stuff inside the fence. He would try to keep up with them, and he wouldn't. He'd either slipped and broken a leg or been hit hard. As it gets closer, I'm gonna ask that we kind of get back from the fence a little further. Him as our unofficial mascot. Hey, bud.
Hi, guys.
You'll see he's still got some velvet hanging off his antlers there. The velvet is the skin and hair that covers the blood vessels that help supply the growth of that bone. Elk calves born this year. One was a set of twins, which isn't rare, but is uncommon. Yeah, the ladies are back in there with Murphy. This is Frank. So Frank and Murphy are our two dominant bulls. Murphy has the girls right now. Frank had them last year, and he is not happy about that.
I would think he would not be.
Hey, Frank.
He says, look at me. How can you resist this?
Yeah, see how he's got slight limp? Just calling the Fred. Which is why I wanted to get us out of there. That's either Murphy or Lorenzo. Because Frank and Fred may go face off, and that is a really dangerous spot to be when they face off. Between the fence is not a good place to be. So I hope the other group's coming. Watch out. That's Spike. You'll notice Spike has no branches off of his antlers. He was born last year. He's a mama's boy. He stuck out with the ladies all throughout the year, and they never pushed him out of the female herd. Even though mom had a new baby. And so we just knew, come this fall rut, that he was gonna, the big boy, whoever took over the ladies, was not gonna be happy he was around. And so he still tries to hang out with the ladies, but yeah, Murphy don't like that. So Murphy's kind of pushed him out. He still actually has his velvet on his antlers if he gets close enough, but he's a little skittish because he hasn't figured out how to hook up with the 20-something guys. He's the like 16, 17-year-old awkward dude. No other boy calves. Bison. It's all muscle and tendon and bone in there to support their head down, right? If you ever stick your head down for your phone too long, you notice it hurts. They don't want hurting sore neck, so they have a lot of extra muscle and skeleton in there to hold that. The elk though, right? We saw Frank, he just stick his head straight up. As long as the antlers aren't catching his back, he can go up all the way. And that allows them to browse. So while bison are strict grazers, they eat grass, hopefully new grass. They like it, it's easier on their teeth. The elk can browse and eat the branches and the new buds and the leaves off the tree, the bark off the tree, the hardier growths and stuff that the bison don't like. And so particularly in the winter, when they don't want to eat the hay, because the bison are very mean, and the bison will mess up the hay so that the elk don't get to have it. So they'll graze along the tree line here, and they've formed this perfect line. And so I've had people ask, oh, do you make your stewardship team go out and do that? And I said, yes, you know what, I do. It's called the elk. They're master gardeners. They go out and they just maintain that nice, beautiful line for me. They keep everything looking tidy and nice.
Does that keep all the invasives out too?
I wish.
Okay, I'm just curious.
I wish. They do honestly, they do a pretty good job. We have to do some invasive work, but they like things brushy. We call this elk woods up here. You'll notice it is a little thicker than you can actually see through the sand dune there. And then at the other end of this tree line, that and elk woods are the two places that the animals can hide. And if they don't want to be found, you can have 50,000 pounds of animal just disappear like that. And if they don't want to be seen, there's nothing I can do. Sort of getting out grand and giving them the signal. There ain't anything I can do. They're native to Indiana. They evolved with our climate. They are perfectly fine in climate change, our winters aren't even that cold for them anymore, right? There's actually this cool biological fact: the bigger you are, which, especially with mammals, in that blood, the bigger they are, the less energy they have to exert to get. So like elephants and stuff, right? All they have to do is start moving, and that body's generating heat as their energy, their metabolic processes and everything start going. So I know a lot of people get worried about, oh, the bison. Like, first off, they grow very thick bones. Secondly, they're pretty smart. So they will actually, if there's a big snowstorm, ice storm coming, they will bed down individually, not even like just spread out, not even clustered like penguins do. They will let the snow and the ice and the wings because they hide them like whitetail do. We had a couple times we were trying to close off that enclosure to do work, and then we come down 2 hours later, and mom and baby are separated. And get another one. So we thought we were like, okay, but the bison are done. Towers all from Fred throughout his life. And so we will actually have an antler roundup where we'll put some from the pile and some from that were dropped this year out there, and we invite the kids to come out and do the Easter egg hunt. And come find the antlers. We keep them, but they get to find them and see them. I found one!
That's cool.
Giant thing. It's pretty fun. But horns, they get a little different looking.
You ever got one rolling in the?
Yeah.
It's got nice.
Good boy.
Yeah.
Okay, our youngest baby, the one that was born 2 months late, the one right here. You can see the size difference. So this other one that's grazing towards us, that's one that was born on time this year. So you can see what 2 months difference really will do for the animal size. They grow very quickly.
Which ones are the females?
Yes. So if you look down, they don't have boy
Oh,
So
Boy, do they have
these two
boy
right here
parts.
closest to the neck, you can see the boy part hanging out their belly. And so this is a female back there. She's got an udder.
Right, and of course, ready? Yay! It works. So, first off, that I always want to ask is how many people like bats? Yes. So, depending on the audience, it's either a couple or everybody. So that's awesome that you all like bats. And I always say, if people don't like bats, you're going to, right? But overall, I like telling people that bats are just awesome. Right? There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Bats are awesome for a whole number of different reasons. Right? First off, they're just beautiful. This is a eastern red bat that we have here in Indiana. This is one of the most common bats that we catch when we actually go outside to catch these bats to see what, how many individuals, how many species, what their health is out in the landscape. This is a very common bat that we catch. And this is interesting because the males are bright red, like cardinals, and the females are drabby brown, like female cardinals. And cardinals do that for sexual selection, right? So the males are really showy, and the females will select the showiest males, right? But these guys mate in the dark. So how does that work? And so our question is, why are they red? And we have no idea. And that's one of the reasons that bats are awesome, is that we know so little about them because it's so hard to study them. Right? So this is one of my favorite bats, and I have other pictures of them later. This is one of my favorite bats. I am arguing with the state mammalogist Brad Westrich from Indiana DNR that we have these in the state because they're just across the river, Ohio River, down in Kentucky. And why are they not just going over the river? Right? So I think they are. This is one of my favorite bats. This is a Raffinus big-eared bat, and that ear is about the size of its body. And then when they aren't using them, they fold them back and they look like ram's horns. It's just adorable. And this is a bat from Malaysia. This is called the painted bat. It's similar-ish to the eastern red bat, but very different. It's gorgeous. And it's also in conservation concern because people have been using them as Halloween decor. So this is one of the reasons why bats are having a bad time. Is one, a lot of people don't know about them, a lot of people don't like them, and a lot of people think it's okay to just take them and do whatever they want, right? So one of the things that I love doing is education, all right? To try to get out the word that bats are awesome and we should do stuff like this, right? So, other reasons why bats are awesome is that they are the second most diverse mammalian order. All right? Orders are a big collection of all the mammals. There are 11 to 12 different orders of mammals, and they are the second most diverse, meaning that they have about 1,400 different species of bats. So, what's the most diverse group of mammals? Any ideas? Amber, yeah. It's rodents. Rodents are the most diverse group of mammals. There are over 2,000 different species of rodents. But bats are just cooler because there's all sorts of different functions of bats. Bats have a ton of different ecological functions, from nectivorous bats, meaning they drink nectar like hummingbirds. They can hover like hummingbirds. There's frugivorous bats, meaning they eat fruit, and when they eat fruit, they eat the seeds, and then they poop the seeds out a mile away. So they disperse seeds for many, many different plants. We don't have any frugivorous or fruit-eating bats around here, but they're mostly down in the Old World and also South America. There's also economic functions of bats, which we often don't think about. Right? This study came out in 2011. I'm not expecting you to see that, but that's what it looks like. Really awesome study that shows the economic function of bats or insectivorous bats, insect-eating bats, on pesticide use, right? Bats save U.S. corn farmers $3.5 billion worth of pesticides every single year. That's a lot, right? And we take that for granted. Okay? There's also human health benefits, and this is wild. This study, right there, came out 2 weeks ago. And when it came out, we all went, oh, we knew it! And we started sharing it around because it's an actual economic person or economist that has done a whole lot of work with this and showed that bat declines in North America caused a 7.9 increase in infant mortalities. Wow. And that's because our bats are dying, right? And so we need to deal with that loss of insect pesticides, natural pesticides, by adding chemical pesticides. And that seems to be reflected in infant mortality in certain parts of the world, in North America. That's crazy, right? So there still needs to be a lot of work done on that to corroborate it, but if that's true, wow, we need bats. Right? So we have a couple of different bat species here in Indiana, and we're going to kind of outline them all, and then we're going to talk about issues that they're having. Right? So bats of northeastern Indiana, but really it's bats of all of Indiana, because we share them all, essentially. And we can separate them into two big groups. You have our migratory bats, and these are bats that will migrate from Canada to Belize and back, just like big birds, right? Normally our bats don't do that, but we have three species that will. And that includes the hoary bat, which is the biggest bat here in Indiana. And it's the second largest bat in all of the United States. Right? And I have one right here. Unfortunately, it's an ex-hoary bat. Right? But that looks pretty big, but it's all wing. Right? If you have a relatively large hand, the body is about the size of your index finger. Your pointer finger. Right? It's all wing. But this is a really big female, and I can show you guys this later on because it's really pretty. These guys are awesome. The really cool thing about these guys is that they have a very furred tail. And when they are hibernating for just a couple of days, they will fold that tail up over their chest and have their own personal blanket. It's